Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Immunity Show, as I've now named it. It's International Immunity Month, don't you know? You probably don't, because it's only just kicked off. But this was a kind of a moment of inspiration, definitely a message that landed with me. And thankfully, and very gratefully, a number of experts from around the world agreed, I was going to say admitted that they wanted to help, agreed they wanted to help in spreading the message of immunity, which should be the only word really that we're speaking about right now. So I am really thrilled tonight, as your host, to have the yoga and meditation expert and trainer, and also a yoga facilitator retreats. You can tell it's Friday. It's going to be like this, I'm afraid. Jo Sumner is an expert in yoga and meditation, as well as many, many other things. JoanneSumner.com if you'd like to go to her website. Good evening, Jo. Nice to see you again.
Hi, nice to be here. Looking forward to our talk.
Yeah, me too. And very glad to have Chrissy White back again, the second time running on the Immunity Show. Hi, Chrissy.
Hello, Jo. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Oh, no, great. So we had a great chat last week. Very interesting and very quite off on the far end of the spectrum of the Immunity Show, but with Dr. Elijah Lakicevic, which was fascinating. But Chrissy, your passion is energy and connection and food and just all things feeling connected. So I'm really thrilled you've come back so you can hear more about what you have to offer people to help them with their immunity. So that is the focus. So let's start with Jo tonight. Jo, you've done so much within your work as a yoga instructor, meditation. You know everything there is to know about Bach's remedies. In fact, you're writing a book on Bach's remedies. So you have vast, extensive experience and knowledge in well-being. And what would you say right now to someone? So let's bring it in context. It's Friday night in the UK. It's dreary, it's grey, it's dark. With all your expertise, what would you say would be the best thing for people to focus on right now to help their immunity?
One of the things that I'm really conscious of at the moment is for people to take action when they notice that they're feeling misaligned. We have a little bit of a tendency, I think, to ignore our body's messages. And now is the time more than ever that we need to take action, because we do get those messages. You might feel it as a feeling of boredom. You might feel it as a physical impulse to move. You might feel it actually in ways like feeling like you're coming down with a cold, and yet you know that actually you're okay and you're not exposed in any way to anything. You haven't been around people probably at the moment. And to just take action and think about what's the action that's needed right now. Is this a physical thing? Is this a mental thing? Is this an emotional thing? Is this a spiritual thing? Because we can be actually quite precise. We can look at whether, if it's an emotional thing, for example, thinking about something like meditation may help, but also actually things like talking to a good friend help your immunity. And because what you're doing is you're changing the biochemistry in your body. So you're changing the flow of stress hormones so that you actually, especially through something like talking to a good friend or having a long hug, if you happen to live with somebody, you can get a good hug right now. It begins to switch on hormones that actually help you build your immunity, help you also build protein. So that you can repair, if there are any little injuries that you're carrying. And stress hormones directly prevent you doing that. So they prevent you digesting properly, they prevent you fighting off disease, they prevent you resting properly. And actually, over time, if you don't interrupt stress, the effect on your risk of mortality is so extraordinary. It's much, much more than people realize. So we can do things, we need to be precise. So I would like people to start thinking about how that they are a being made up of a physical body, but also an energy body, an emotional body, a mental and a spiritual, and then to go in at the level where it's happening, and just apply a corrective. And your creativity is important in defining what that corrective is. You have so much information at your fingertips because it's all based on what makes you feel good. Not good, like, you know, not like have a pizza good. I don't mean like stuff your face and go into some sort of yummy food coma. I mean sort of good that's light, you know, light in your heart, or whatever your way of describing that. I would talk about something that lifts your spirits or something that gives you joy. And even a common phrase like what lifts your spirits, it's such a clue for what is good for you in the spiritual sphere. It doesn't have to be something spiritual in the sense of, you know, I mean, I do have a real commitment to my own spirituality, and that for me is a mystical practice almost. It doesn't have to be that. It can literally be what lifts your spirits. So, for example, singing, fantastically effective for boosting your immunity. So that's sort of where I am at the moment, is let's get responsible for ourselves and responsible for actually precisely targeting what's wrong. And you can think of the medical model, you can think about the way that they target drugs to particular receptors, and you can think about that for yourself. You know, which receptor within me? Is it my heart that's aching? Is it that my tummy? Is it my throat? Is it my head? And then respond accordingly.
Yeah, and just do something that just generally just changes it. But it's taking that moment, isn't it, to recognize it's happening, and then not going to the obvious things like you say of glass of wine or pizza or that. Yeah. It can work, but you know, ultimately, if it's a recurring thing and you're feeling a lot of people struggling this time of year, you know, it's really important to not go down that path, because you're just taking your body down that continued, you know, terrible, you know, cycle downwards, which, you know, just doesn't help your physiology. And that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Because ultimately stress has a huge impact on your physiology. I like the way you said that there's 4 different areas, you know, because I think that's really important to recognize where the issue is, isn't it? Because it's quite a challenge for some people to do that. You know, stress manifests in such different ways for people, doesn't it?
It does, and you know, the parts of your being are connected to each other. So sometimes we know that we're emotionally upset because, for example, my throat will get sore and my jaw will begin to lock if I'm swallowing something down. It's a really important part of the body language. It's the way it's talking to me, going, no, there's something here that you're swallowing that you shouldn't actually. You need to say this. Or you may need to stand up for yourself in some way. Or I was doing in negotiating a new contract this week, and it was for a service that I was purchasing, and it was really interesting. The conversation that led right up to price, you know, there was a lot there that I liked, and I was really carried along by this person. And then when they named their price, I had this sense of it was a little bit like the sort of the blood or the energy had drained out of my chest. It was a really odd feeling, but because I'm looking out for what my body's telling me, I just knew, no, that's a price that doesn't work for me. And I need to say so. You know, I need to say so. I need to give an opportunity for this to work out. And actually it hasn't worked out, and that's fine, because there are 2 other fantastic options. But what it does, being aware of the language, as being aware of the body as it's talking to you, means that I haven't got myself into a contract I'll later regret, and I'm not going to have that situation where I'm sort of resenting, I'm counting that cost. You know, it just was a misalignment. So alignment is something that I think that you get better with practice. And think about those things that are in the colloquial language, right? So when somebody's a pain in the neck, don't spend too much time with them, you know.
Right.
It's very simple. Listen to yourself. There you go. There's another way I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's really simple. Yeah. listen to yourself and listen to where it feels like if something's happening doesn't feel right, then because obviously our body does speak to us. You and I practice a lot of the similar methods, but our bodies do speak to us in different ways, and certain pains or aches will appear when they're trying to tell us something. The important thing is not to ignore them, even if you can't quite translate what that means, and to do something, especially right now, especially through these times right now. Brilliant, Jo. Thank you so much. And Chrissy, what would you say? Because obviously, again, like Jo, you have such a vast experience. At the core of it, fundamentally, is feeling connected to yourself, isn't it? So on top of all the amazing things you said last week, what would you like to add to that?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say good evening to Jo, because it's lovely to see you again. And I agree with absolutely everything that you've said. Absolutely. So, yes, I'd like to, perhaps encapsulate something that I didn't say last week, especially if people didn't see us and hear us last Friday. I completely agree with both of you. Our bodies never lie. They are always telling us what's really going on. And unfortunately, we get in the way because we're not often listening. We're always healing. Our bodies are always in that healing, replenishing, rebalancing process. And again, we get in the way with our choices all too often. So I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to just suggest a few things and recommend a few tricks that I've, perfected, acquired over the years, shall we say. And it's so tricky in the UK, in the Northern Hemisphere generally, at this time of the year. And of course, we're all at home all the time, which is a godsend to some and a nightmare for others, and any stage in between. So there's a couple of drinks I'd like to recommend straight away, because it's very easy to drink a lot of caffeinated hot drinks in the winter, especially when you're at home all day. So forgive me if this is a sort of hackneyed old one, but this drink for me is an absolute game changer. In the morning, start your day with a tall glass. I've got one of these IKEA glasses here. Can we say IKEA? Half water, half cold, half hot. So it's drinkable and as hot as you can take it. It's got the juice of a quarter of an organic lemon, about a teaspoonful of organic lemon juice, and quarter of a teaspoonful of sea salt. And it does need to be sea salt or Himalayan salt, not that huge plastic tub of old salt, as it were. Keep that and throw it on the drive when it snows. It's got to be sea salt, or a salt that is densely packed with nutrients. And in my opinion, sea salt, Celtic sea salt, Hawaiian sea salt, if you can get it, any of the sea salts that you can acquire. Portuguese is very good as well. Just have a look online. There are lots of wonderful suppliers, ethical suppliers, who do really provide what they say they provide. So a quarter of a teaspoonful of that best salt. Just stir it and drink it more or less straight away. Drink it while it's still hot. One tip is get up, obviously, clean your teeth with a toothpaste that has no fluoride or other chemicals in it. And if there's time, we'll come back to the why not in a few minutes. And then have this drink. And the point is, it will flush out all of the neurotransmitters that keep you sleepy. The sea salt will kickstart the electrolytes to wake you up, because we are electrical beings and we need that start in the morning. The lemon will alkalize and help to cut through any sort of stickiness that might still be in the digestive system from the night before. And it will generally flush through and help you to start your day. Most importantly, it's hydrating. And it puts your body into hydration mode after a night's sleep, hopefully, when you lose anything up to 1.5 litres of fluid at whatever stage in life and whatever your hormones are doing. There's a tremendous amount of dehydration, really, that goes on as our bodies replenish overnight. So it's very, very important to start the day with that rehydration process. And that way, your body is actually in rehydration before you start to eat. So again, just a little tip, I like to have the drink and then go and have my shower, because it's tricky to eat in the shower, and it means that there's 20 minutes or so before I might start to eat. It would be longer than that in my case.
Make it the very first drink you have. And sorry, can you just say it's a good glass of water, half cold and then half hot from the kettle, and a teaspoon of lemon juice, and how much salt?
About a quarter of a teaspoonful. Increase the salt as you acquire a taste for it. Not too much salt, but nevertheless, it helps with the alkalizing. And as I say, more importantly, it kickstarts the electrolytes that wake you up, basically.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference, because it actually knocks the desire for sweet breakfast cereals and that sort of thing. It knocks that off, if you like, takes that desire for sweet carbohydrate related foods off. Just a point on the fluoride in toothpaste and fluoride in the water, unfortunately. It is something that builds up in the body, and it does affect immunity. It affects everything. And so it can become the plaque on our teeth, the narrowing of the arteries, and most significantly, it affects the pineal gland, the awareness and the perception that we have. Gosh, we could do a whole show on that.
We could, couldn't we? Yeah, and actually Lucy mentioned that the other day. Lucy De Angelis, she mentioned fluoride and water, and that we must drink filtered water at the very least.
Yes.
And like you say, not non-fluoride toothpaste, which is very easy to buy now. It used to be hard to buy, but it's very easy to get hold of now. All these things that we just fit into the usual, I'll grab that from the supermarket.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It all adds up. That's the thing, isn't it? It all adds
Absolutely.
up. You're going to come on to something else then as well, Chrissy, I think.
Well, I was going to talk about another drink, actually, that I find very useful, especially in the afternoons when it's dark quite early and we're all working from home. Instead of having a cup of tea or another coffee or something that's got more caffeine or sugar in it, try goji tea, fresh goji tea. Goji berries have a tremendous amount of vitamin C, more so than oranges, lemons. They're very, very powerful in terms of their vitamin C. Again, buy organic, really stretch in terms of finding them, although you can find them online, of course, now, and go the extra mile with spending a little bit more, because it's well worth it. Any soft fruits that are not organic will have the pesticides right at their heart. So personally, I'd rather not buy them. I'd rather buy something else that is organic and then go from there in terms of creating what I might want to eat or drink. But simply, goji berries are tremendous when you find the organic ones. And you literally put a handful of goji berries into a cup. You pour hot water on as if you're making tea or instant coffee. Well, you are making tea, you're making goji tea. Leave it for a few minutes, not until it's cold, but 2 or 3 minutes. You'll see the water gradually become a delicious and vibrant shade of orange. Drink the liquid. It's delicious. It's naturally sweet. And then eat the goji berries, which of course will be swollen and soft by the time they've been in the water for a little while. It's an unusual drink, especially if you're used to tea and coffee in the normal way. Nevertheless, it's really hydrating. Again, it's incredibly energizing, and it's full of vitamin C and other nutrients that we need.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always little tiny habits, isn't it? I remember the first time I tried green tea and I thought, oh God, it's revolting. And you just break that habit. I've tried it once, then I had it again, and then again, and now I've always got a few different varieties in my cupboard. It's just doing that one thing once, isn't it? And then
exactly. I mean, in the length of time it's taken to talk about it, I could have made both drinks and consumed them. So it's really quick, actually. It takes far longer to describe it than it does to actually do it.
And we're all at home. We can all order online easily right now. It's kind of no excuses really. Everything is amazing how much we can get online, and it's something I think we should be really grateful for, that we can access. 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been possible. You'd have had to go to a certain shop in Pimlico to get your organic goji berries.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when the supermarkets didn't even sell lentils. I know we're not talking about lentils, but there was nothing even whole foody in the supermarkets. And now, well, I'm a fan of the orange logoed supermarket. They sell organic goji berries. You can pick them up if you're still doing your shopping rather than having it delivered. Then you can pick them up when you get the rest of your groceries.
I think,
it's
I
worth
think you're talking about that good British brand, aren't you?
Yes, I
one
am.
of my favourites as well. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, well, and these are simple things that you can do. You know, like the lemon and salt drink. You know, is such a simple thing to do first thing in the morning, and it's also recognizing that actually, what is this really doing to my body? This big cup of coffee, or a very strong cup of tea to have as your first drink of the day, doesn't actually feel right, does it? So,
well, it's damage to pretty much everything. It's very hard on your liver, very dehydrating, and it's really playing havoc with your brain. And so we need to take care of our neural networks and balance the brain and keep our nervous systems calm, as Jo was saying, because these days there's anxiety everywhere we look, and touching a little on what we were saying last week, everyone has an opinion. It can be really fractious to just chat to a neighbour. So you need to stay calm and keep that sense of balance and neutrality, if you like. That sounds a bit boring, but not reacting to certain triggers that might be out there. And respect everyone's opinion, even if it's a million miles from your own.
Oh, you're so right. I was chatting to my old neighbours earlier, and it quickly came up, and the angle was going down a certain path, and I could feel my heart rate starting to my heart beat faster, because A, I didn't agree with what they were saying, and B, I wasn't there to speak to them about that, so I don't see them very often, and I was getting so kind of anxious about it. I was thinking, this is a waste of my time. I've only got an hour to speak to you, and you want to talk about Maxine, as we're calling her,
Okay.
It's a bit harsh on all the Maxines of the world to do that, I'm afraid, really. But anyway, and it was incredible, and I just really monitored that myself and took some deep breaths and grounded, and then just very gently said, "Well, how about we talk about this now?" Because ultimately, we're all getting a bit done with it. Really, I mean, fundamentally, we need to talk about other things. And actually, I think hopefully you both agree. I think just being mindful of how much we're talking about the said situation. It's so easy to keep going down this rabbit hole. It's a negative conversation. Like you say, opinions are getting more stronger and more kind of, sadly, that it's getting very divisive. And that in turn causes itself stress and worry, more kind of neurons kicking off because they're thinking, I haven't heard that before, better think about that. I think we need to be a bit more mindful of actually the stress that all this can really cause, of engaging in this constant conversation.
But also, I think you can be clever about how you manage getting your new information. So often what I find is my partner, for example, he doesn't find it stressful actually to keep an eye on the numbers and on the latest government guidelines and so on. And so I let him do that. For me, it is, because my empathy is so strong. As soon as I hear talk of numbers, I'm immediately thinking about all the families involved and so on, whereas he literally receives it more like a statistician. So he can do that bit, whereas I'm the one that's doing the research around the vaccines and how do I feel and exactly how do they work. And that's because my original career was in medical research as a field. I was an ethicist. I wasn't a researcher myself, but I was working in that field. And so I'm the right person to do that bit and to dig out the right information and work my way through the misinformation that's out there. And so we can make an informed decision between us. And that means that I don't have to do the bit that's painful for me, and he doesn't have to do the bit that is not painful for him, actually, but just that I can do. I can do it with ease. And I think that's very helpful. And I think we need to guard our sources of information very, very carefully right now. We need to be very thoughtful about whose truth we're accepting, and ultimately respectful of each other's choices. I think that's the thing, is that I know that I am careful about who I surround myself with. And therefore, even though there's a range of choices amongst my group of friends and colleagues and so on, because I'm careful about who they are, I just respect that they're making potentially different choices than I am, and that is their right to do. And you don't have to engage in a conversation about it. You can simply allow them their right. And then I think that invites people to allow you your rights too. So, you know, this is a time for discernment. This is a time for knowing when to step back. And I think both of you have been saying that, really. It's a time for knowing how to manage a response rather than a reaction.
Yes.
Because the reaction, you know, it's heating everything up.
I remember many months ago, around April, May time, there were people I know and respect on social media saying, oh, I've fallen out with all of my family. None of them are speaking to me, because they'd felt compelled to give their opinion. And of course, not everyone will agree. So great discussion. Well, I don't know how much discussion, but great falling out took place. And well, it's delicate. We have to respect each other's beliefs, opinions, and so on. And it is tricky. Personally, I do believe that there are members of my own family who are not aware of all the facts. I say facts in that they have been analysed, and it's delicate. I would have much preferred that they made a decision with information from both sides of the equation, shall we say. But you know that they're all grown-ups, and everyone will make their own decisions. So we have to respect that choice.
Yeah, it's a time for choices, isn't it? But you know, I think you're right. I'm starting to feel that people are starting to realise that there are other ways of finding their information as well. Because you know, there are certain people that go to one news channel and that's all they watch, and then one newspaper and that's all they read. And I really feel a very good dear friend of mine the other day actually said, I'm going to also now read the such and such paper. Yes, inside us, yes, at last. Because she's only ever read a certain paper, and that certain paper gives her a certain type of message. So it's fascinating. In some ways, it's another thing that's showing us that we must be discerned in what we, you know, practice discernment in what we read and engage with, and you know, and explore and keep searching, keep looking before we make rash decisions of any kind, right? But let's come back to, so because yoga is very much at the core of what you do, and meditation. And meditation just obviously is naturally popping up all the time in our calls. So before we finish off, just what would you what can people listening and watching, what would you say would be, you know, a really helpful way to engage in meditation? Because obviously there are certain people that practice first thing in the morning. Obviously that's me, it's you, Chrissy, I should imagine you do too. But there, I really feel like now we should be meditating throughout the day. And what I mean by meditating is taking a moment, is what I mean by meditating. What do you feel? What do you think?
Yeah, well, one of the things I wanted to share, so that was the perfect lead-in for me in a way, is actually 2 different breathing techniques, because actually focusing on your breath is one of the most productive mindful meditations that you can do. And as I said earlier, that it's time to get precise about our interventions. So here's an intervention which is if you need to relax. So you can feel that the stress response has risen up and you're getting agitated and you need to relax. You can do this very simply. So do it as many times in a day as you need to. It's breathing in for 3 and breathing out for 7. Super simple. Breathe in for 3, breathe out for 7. Do that 3 minutes. That'll do the job. That's enough. So you can do it as often as you need to. But let's say you're in a situation where you want to stay, you need to be calm and you need to be alert. So, you know, the relaxation type breathing, I would actually recommend you close your eyes and you deliberately allow yourself to come into a more trance-like state. But if you needed to stay calm and alert, I would recommend coherent breathing, which is breathing in It's usually a count of 5 and a breathing out a count of 5. And just keeping that steady pace. So breathing in 5, out 5, in 5, out 5. What that's been shown to do is actually bring harmony in the body systems. And it's really physical. So, for example, we have our heart pumping blood around the body. We're all used to that. We learn that at school. We also have something called the thoracic pump, which is the action of your mechanics of breathing. So, your rib cage expands, your rib cage contracts. That sends a pressure wave through the body, which also moves blood around the body. When you get stressed, your breathing gets irregular, and those two pumps work against each other, and that is very negative for all the other systems in the body. So the 5-5 breathing, as I call it, or coherent breathing, has been proven to bring those two waves into harmony, and then that allows all the other systems in the body, including your immune system, to work with far greater efficiency. And it's particularly good for your cardiac health because your heart is not having to work against the thoracic pump, whereas if you're stressed and your breathing's irregular, it is having to work against it. The other thing it does is improves your heart rate variability, which is something that you'll hear talked more and more about in coaching circles. So heart rate variability sounds like a bad thing, but actually it's not. It's your ability to respond to something that's happening and then to recover, respond, recover, respond, recover. We want good heart rate variability. And it's like, you think about how an athlete can respond so quickly. It's that for us. It's our heart athletics. We want that. And this breath, the 5-5 breath, does that for us. So I feel that that's something that people can do without feeling they have to commit 30 minutes or an hour or, anything too demanding. Just start with something super simple. So I would say 5-5 breath, particularly during the day, and the relaxing breath at night, or if you notice that you're really getting stressed during the day.
So the 5-5 breath is great for the stress. So in for 5 and out for 5, and just keep doing it. Just no time frame. Just get into that rhythm and do that. And then before bed, to really bring yourself into a relaxed state, in for 3 and out for 7 with your eyes closed. It's more of a meditative state of breathing. And
you can do that for several minutes if you wish to. And then you would, at the end of that, you just return to normal breathing, but your normal breathing will have changed because you've calmed down. And it will just be a soft, easy in and out.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Chrissy, what would be your final tip before we finish the show tonight? What's your for our listeners and our watchers?
Yeah, to be aware that we do have to take responsibility for our health and well-being, and obviously immunity is central to all of that. And to step away from the notion that we can abuse our bodies, do as we please, burn the candle at both ends, as it were, and then rock up at the doctors and say, fix me. Because sadly, so many people do still take that approach. And this is where it's coming to light now. So just take a step back. Invest in your health. Do you have to spend a bit? Yes, you can actually, but rather than buying another pair of shoes or investing in this or that, even a weekend away, which is tricky these days, invest in something that's going to really nurture you. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. A pack of goji berries could be £4 or £5. They'll last you for a long time. And I don't know what a coffee costs. I haven't drunk coffee for many years, but the point I'm making is if you're going to have a regular coffee out, that's going to be expensive. Invest in your health. It's not all about money, it's about time and attitude. Do a bit of research and really nurture yourself in these days when we are at home. Within a very short time, you will see and feel the difference. And again, I completely agree with what Jo is saying about breathing. We can change our state, our emotional state, our state of health and calm in a matter of moments with breathing that is conscious and wise. So yes, lots of experiences that cost nothing And a little bit of wise investment will make a huge difference quickly, really, in a very short time. Simple, smooth, and easy. That's my mantra. Keep it simple, smooth, and easy.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Christine. It all helps our stress. We must deal with our stress. It's the least thing, the last thing we need right now is stress. So thank you so much. Chrissy White, the Vibrant Gourmet. So just search for the Vibrant Gourmet and you'll find Chrissy White online. And Jo Sumner is joannesumner.com. Jo does amazing yoga and meditation classes all online now, obviously. So tune into Jo and you're also coming up with some Reiki training, aren't you, Jo? Which is very, very exciting. I'm a big fan of Reiki. I qualified in Reiki 10 years ago. One of the most pivotal things I've ever done in my life. And you learn how to breathe and meditate there, like nothing else. It completely changes how you feel. Chrissy and Jo, thank you so much for tonight.
Thanks, Jo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great to see you again. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, please join us on the Facebook page. Follow the Facebook page and you'll get all these updates and lots of little nuggets of information from experts like Jo and from Chrissy, all wanting to help you do something right now for your immunity. I'm Jo Baldwin Trott and I hope you've enjoyed this show. Take care. We'll be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.